Hello, today I want to talk about how to deploy a Spring Boot and Angular application, because I think a lot of people struggle with that because there are so many options how to deploy. I choose for this video to deploy it on a cloud server or dedicated server, if you will, because you have the most control about what you're doing, about how you are doing it, and the most control about the pricing. And it's also kind of performant and has no ramp-up time like Heroku or whatever. So as you see, if you use DigitalOcean, you can get a server up for $4 a month. And if you just use it for 2 weeks, you will just pay $2, I guess. For my case, I use my German provider. I already created a server in here. So let's start and configure. First point, if you want to follow, as you see, it's Ubuntu 22. If you use Ubuntu 20 or 18, there shouldn't be that much of a difference. And you can use the commands I use. So now let's log in. I will use git bash for that. So SSH, root is a starting user, and now we need the initial password and log in. First thing we will do is create a new user and give that user sudo rights. So usermod g sudo peter, and that's fine for that. Now we make it our login more secure. So what we will do is exit to our local PC, and in here, let me see if and now let's generate it here. I won't use a passphrase, and now we should have a tutorial pub in here. I will just copy that and log into my server again, where I have to use a pass. Oh, no. We won't use root. SSH peter at, let's say here, with our user and our password. So now we create a directory and this SSH directory. So there it is. We will can generate a file in there. That's named authorized keys. And in here we will copy the value from our tutorial public key and save that. And now we have to just change the rights a little bit. So sudo and sudo chmod to 700, also recursive, Okay, now let's try to log in with our SSH key. But before we're doing that, because it's pretty annoying to always enter the IP address, we will go in here in our config. If you don't have that, just create a file and see. Oh, editor. And in here I provided already the host tutorial, but this is not so fitting IP. So all you have to do is to give it a name, add the IP, add the SSH file and your username, store it, and if it's worked, you can just use tutorial to log into your server. And with that being done, we can disable the password authentication. So let's do this. And it's in the at the very bottom. That. So pass permit root login. We will disable this. No. And we will disable this. And in the worst case, we are now logged out of our server. But as we saw, as we tried before, we can still log in with our SSH key. So now, after we have that done, we haven't restarted at all, so nothing changed. My bad. Restart, exit, try it again. Perfect. Exit. Try to log in with root. Not working. That's what we want. So now we are going to install our backend. For that, we will bring our server to the newest updates. Yeah, and then we can install Java. Now that's done, we will just test it. Java minus version. Perfect. Now we are going to install Postgres. And I will add all the commands to the README in the repository. So you don't have to type all of that, because it would take kinda long. Okay. Now let's log in to Postgres and create our database, which we call tutorial. Now we will also change the password of the Postgres user. To Postgres. Just for training purposes. And now we will try to connect to our database and see if everything worked fine. And for that I will say let's support to map to my local machine. And tutorial. So now we can go in here and properties. This is a port I entered in here and just try to connect. Not working. Let's see if it's because of database. Yeah, database wasn't created correctly. So, but we can do that in here too. And just say new database tutorial and okay. Great. So now we have a connection to our database. Database is configured for our use case. And I probably miss semicolon in here. So, naja, too bad. So, let's just create a place for our backend. I will create a folder backend in var. I will make me the owner of that backend, and I will give me the permission to execute, write and read from that folder. And with that we can go in our IntelliJ, build our application, which is then in build libs, and now we the right path. Let's try it again with the right path. So there it is. Read, write, read, write. No execute. So just let it chmod plus x backend. Now it can be executed from, but I'm not happy with that either. So yeah, mod 700. Yeah, that's better, I guess. So now let's try to start it. That runs, but database should not be found. Perfect. But anyway, we don't want to run it as for, I don't know what the word is, in the foreground, because if we close our shell, it would be shut down. So we create a background service for that. And in here we add a unit, a service, where here we specify our DB environment, or environment variable for our URL, which is in here, right? So we use that. Active profile is prod. It's kind of useless because we don't have an active profile. it's called prod. And here's the path to our application, and important -jar, like I did it. And that's all. So now let's just try to start this. Start service. And let's look if it's running properly. Yeah, looks good. Started 15 seconds, so our backend is already running. And if we curl to local host 8080 API v1 and unsecured, yeah, we get our message from our backend. So that's working fine. Backend is already running. Now we can start with our frontend. For that we need a web server to serve our static files. For that I will use NGINX. Let's install it. Now we need to configure the firewall, and therefore I add some rules. It's inactive. I added port 22 so we can use SSH still with the firewall and not close the door forever for us. And a bell. Yes. Now we have HTTP. Let's see. Just minus verbose. Yeah, no. Okay. Now we have HTTP, HTTPS and SSH for IPv4 and IPv6 enabled. Next step is to actually look if it's. Let's get our IP address. Let's see if NGINX is doing anything. Yeah, welcome to NGINX. Perfect. So now we can upload our frontend. But we need to create a folder for that first. Frontend folder, now getting the rights, permission for the frontend folder. And with that we can go to our frontend, build it, and after it's built we can copy it. And now let's copy that. Okay. Now we need to configure the NGINX configuration, so we can actually host it. So in here we create a new file. and we will add some configuration, which I will also add to the README. So we were listening to port 80. Our root is in HTML frontend. There is an index, and in here we will have to, in your case, have to add the IP address. So let's just grab that and remove that server name. We can also disable that for now. Or remove it. And the rest looks fine. This is the location to redirect always to our index HTML. Because it's single page application, this is our reverse proxy. So if we make a request to API, then we will redirect to Docker's 8080, and that's just for cache control. Sudo NGINX, let's test if the configuration is fine. She is fine. Sudo no, I missed one step. I need to enable this site. Copy for enabling, just use this command, and now sudo system restart NGINX. And with that, we should see our front end. I have a token in here. Let's refresh this. Okay, it's giving okay. That's it for forbidden, but if we look in here in our network, we see we got 403. So now we can try to register our user. Register, post 200, sign in. Peter, fetch unsecure, okay, that's good. Peter, sign in. And now we can fetch secure, get our response, and in our database we should see our user and our tables. It's this above our schemas. There's a lost connection. Yeah. Oh no, there it is. Here's our user. Now we can add a role, because right now we can't fetch the admin. Still forbidden, just not displayed properly. But we can fix this by adding one admin in here and add one in here, and now we should be able to fetch this too. So works perfectly fine. Only thing now is just unsecure, and I will add an URL for that. I will use AWS root 53 for that, because I have URL left there, and I create a record, and it's always the same. You just need to add an A record that routes to the IP of your server. So let's go to root and then here IP and create, and also add a new record for www, create. That's all you need to do, so I can close this. And if I now go in here, type from org, we're going to NGINX again, but that's just because of our configuration. So let's go in here and change this to talentschmiede.org, www.talentschmiede.org. Let's test it and let's restart it. Let's try without www. Working too. And now one thing is missing. Then within real URL now we can also add HTTPS. And for that you can go to certbot and in the web server here and your system here. And now you get all you need. I have Ubuntu 22, there's Snap already installed, so I just need to install certbot. Oops. Now the next command. Oh, let's close this. Run certbot. You need to enter the email address in here. Need to accept the terms of service, and the rest answer with no. And we can add HTTPS for both of our domains, so data is encrypted. And now if you go in here, you see it's HTTPS. We are automatically redirected. Let's log out again and sign in. So we get our row, looks a little better. And yeah, that's all. Now took us about half an hour. I will cut it a little bit, but we deployed our Angular backend and frontend and added HTTPS, so TLS security, and I guess it's pretty fine. And we also already have caching, as you see. So I hope that helps you to deploy your application, and if you encounter any problems or any questions, just ask me.